So this is LiberalViewer Wednesday. It's going to be a live event, hopefully a regular thing I do Wednesdays, 4:30 p.m. Pacific. I think I finally got the audio working. You have to bear with me since this is the first time I've done this. Uh, Let me see if I get some comments. Yes, sounds good. It's fixed, finally. Okay. Uh, I see I have several people watching, and I'm glad that I'm getting some feedback that you can hear me. I wanted to answer some of your questions. Uh, the question first people may have is, why am I doing Liberal Viewer Wednesday Live? Well, one reason is because of this new live event function on YouTube that lets me just do this live and record it, and then it shows up automatically as a video on my channel, which is a good way for me to add content. YouTube makes changes all the time that makes it harder for my videos to find viewers, and one of the more recent changes to their algorithm is that they give preference to channels that upload 3 or more videos a week. And so I'm hoping that if I can add in some live events, I can do that, because I can't really make the kind of videos I usually make that many times a week, because it just takes too long to make them. Let me see. Doesn't look like I'm getting comments here since the audio started working. I'm not sure what's going on, where the comments have gone. Maybe if I refresh this. Oh, okay. Live on YouTube. This is an excellent idea. Oh, see, I am getting some good questions here. So one of the first things I wanted to talk about before I take some of these questions is a Supreme Court ruling that came out yesterday that was, I guess in the vernacular, totally bogus decision. 5-4 from Samuel Alito, appointee of George W. Bush, on warrantless wiretapping. This was an ACLU case. See, I'm wearing my ACLU T-shirt. I don't know if you can see that in yeah, good, freedom. ACLU, proudly protecting freedom since 1920. Anyway, so the ACLU took this case, and it's about this warrantless wiretapping that it's not from emails and phone calls in the United States, but it's basically Americans' phone calls and emails that go internationally. Phone calls and emails, it could be like as big a dragnet as like all the phone calls and emails to Mexico or to France or something like that. That's how bad this program could be, although the details aren't known. So anyway, the ACLU took all these like human rights groups and journalists who do a lot of international emails and phone calls, and use them as the plaintiffs to sue and say, we're being chilled in our speech. We can't. We're afraid to speak freely with the people who we talk to overseas because we think we may be the subject of this warrantless wiretapping. And it got all the way up to the Supreme Court, and yesterday the Supreme Court dismissed the case because it's this Kafkaesque reasoning where it's a secret program, so you don't have standing to sue unless you can prove that you've been wiretapped, but you can't prove you've been wiretapped because it's a secret program. It's, this awful kind of law that's coming up in the whole terrorism, the whole supposed war on terror. And anyway, so I just wanted to start off. That was one thing I wanted to talk about before I took any questions. Now, I see Lassatofi, if I can pronounce that correctly, just asked any thoughts on DOMA ruling coming up soon. And that ruling probably will come out like at the end of June, beginning of July. There are actually 2 cases. There's the DOMA case, and then there's also California's Proposition 8, where the Supreme Court is going to decide if when California voters by 50-something% got rid of same-sex marriage in California, if that proposition is constitutional, because there was an anti-gay proposition in Colorado several years back that the Supreme Court struck down and said you can't pass a proposition. That was a proposition that would have prevented local governments from passing rules against discrimination against gays in like housing and employment. And so, because the Supreme Court struck down that law, there's a lot of commentators think that they will also say that California can't pass a law that will take away the rights of gay people to get married, because for about 6 months, gay people did get married, and I think there are more than 10,000 couples in California, same-sex couples who are married. So that would be the limited way that the Supreme Court could rule, though I'm hoping, and I don't know, after rulings like the one yesterday, it's hard to have hope, but there are so many people on the right, all these Republicans like Meg Whitman in California have just filed a brief with the court saying, that they should come out in favor of same-sex marriage. What I really hope happens is that the Supreme Court comes out and says that discriminating against same-sex couples in marriage violates their fundamental, equal protection rights. Because even, when the Supreme Court looks at how when laws treat people differently, they use different levels of scrutiny. And the lowest level of scrutiny is what's called rational basis analysis, where the court has to decide if there was even any rational basis for making the distinction that the law makes. And I can't even think of any rational basis for just saying that same-sex couples can't get married. Who does it hurt? What's the even any legitimate interest of the state in stopping same-sex couples from getting married? I personally don't think it even passes the rational basis test, which is, an important kind of Supreme Court doctrine. And so I hope and I think there is a good chance, especially with the way that the country's moving, and Republicans especially on the right are moving, that justices like Justice Roberts, who thinks for the long term, that maybe he's going to decide that it's time for the court to get on the right side of history and actually say that discriminating against gays in marriage is a violation of equal protection clause. And so I hope they do that. Let's see, I've got some new comments here. What do you believe is causing? What do you believe is the Mushi 72 Psi 5575 asks? What do you believe is the cause of the incredible amount of hate Obama has gotten? Why didn't Clinton get the same hate? Well, I think that's sort of a tendentious question. I think you want me to say because of that Obama is the first black president. And I think there is something to that, although, I'm old enough that I was an adult during the Clinton administration, and I actually remember the amount of hate that Clinton got, and he got quite a bit of hate from some of the same people who hate Obama. I don't know if people probably remember the whole Vince Foster conspiracy theory where supposedly they killed Vince Foster to stop, I don't even know that. There were these weird documentaries coming out of Arkansas about the Clintons, and of course there was the whole impeachment. Anyone remember impeachment? At least they haven't impeached Obama yet, although if you watch my last video, it looks like some people on the left and the right are coming together against some of the things that President Obama is doing. My last video was on the targeted killing with the drones, and you'll notice I quoted my right-wing colleague on the Polypop Network, Lee Doran, who had got the chance to ask President Obama about that, and I'm surprised at, I guess it's not surprising that limited government conservatives will criticize a Democratic president. I just wish they'd been there when George W. Bush was president. I'm here criticizing a lot of things about what Obama's been doing in terms of civil liberties, just as I was there when George W. Bush did even worse things. So let's see, we got 14 new comments here. Let's see. I just talked about how do I feel about the drone strike issues. Oh, hey, liberal, what? This is from Mac Manto. I'm really bad at pronouncing names. Hey Liberal, what is your stance on North Korea? As someone who doesn't want to head into another war, how do we handle the threats directed to us from them? Well, that's kind of a tough one. I mean, North Korea just did another nuclear test within the last couple weeks, and they're a society that doesn't really work very well for the people. Or that's a big understatement. It's one of the last terrible communist dictatorships, and they have nuclear weapons. I guess the real key to, and I think I've said this in one of my previous videos. I have a video about North Korea missile launches. Every time North Korea launches a missile, this video gets more hits. So it's a Fox News bias video, like about half my videos. But anyway, what I say in that video is I think the real key to controlling North Korea is China, because China is really the lifeline of North Korea, and China likes having North Korea there rather than a united Korean peninsula, I think. And so I don't think that China would be on board for the disintegration of North Korea, and that's why it keeps giving the lifeline. But on the other hand, China doesn't want North Korea to start an arms race, where Japan gets nuclear weapons, which is possible despite the Hiroshima bombing. And it's basically how much of a problem North Korea is depends, I think, on the United States' relationship with China, and that's of course a whole other issue. Let's see. Price. Oh, what is your favorite book? I don't know. I have a lot of favorite books. I put up the bookcase behind me to show off a few of my books, although I don't know how legible or visible the titles of the books are. I guess you can see Stephen Colbert there, but I don't know. I don't have a lot of chances to read these days. My literary tastes are generally pretty lowbrow. I'm a big Stephen King fan. I've read a lot of Stephen King novels. That's from all my airplane flights, and when I used to go to college and fly around the country, I would always bring a Stephen King novel with me, and he writes enough of them so you can keep up with them. But my favorite book, that's a tough one. I don't know. I think I said about it all on that as Forrest Gump said, and that's what I have to say about that, I guess. So, and Price Johnson, what are your thoughts on the sequester? Well, one of my thoughts on the sequester, and I'm going to watch this if it actually makes the number of people watching the video drop, because I just saw this BuzzFeed thing that said that talking about the sequester on the internet makes people just go away. It's like a killer for viral. Yep, 2 people just dropped off right now talking about the sequester, so I better stop talking about the sequester. But no, what I would say is that I guess it's going to happen, and it's a stupid way to cut government spending, and we really need to do a more balanced approach, as the Democrats and Obama have suggested. And I think that they're eventually going to come up with some sort of deal beyond, oh, see, look, now maybe people want to hear about the sequester because I've got like 5 more viewers. But what is actually going to end up happening, I hope that there's going to be a big deal sometime this year, because it's not going to be next year, which is an election year. But hopefully there's going to be a big deal where entitlement reform happens, and there'll be some tax, the Democrats will give up something and the Republicans will give up something. I mean, this is the year to do it. I think it looks like it's going to happen on comprehensive immigration reform. Looks like there'll be a little bit of gun control, at least on universal background checks. But for the sequester, and now I've got people leaving. I guess that I think that they're not going to fix it right away, but I think by the end of the year, before the election year, that there is going to be some sort of big bargain, kind of like some of the big deficit deals that were supposed to happen before the election. But let's see, I got a few more. Who is the funnier man, Stephen Colbert or Jon Stewart? Well, I think Stephen Colbert is definitely the better actor. I made a video a couple months back, When is Stephen Colbert Joking, where I talked about how his ironic character, also named Stephen Colbert, watching him interview people, I think there's like some comic genius involved there. Uh, so he's a better actor. But as to who's funnier, I mean, Jon Stewart, I think he is in some ways a better like straight performer, like stand-up performer as himself. But Stephen Colbert, so I don't know. Let's see. What is your opinion on Battleground, Texas? Well, I just saw the guy heading that up on TV. Was it yesterday or earlier today? And I was really intriguing to think of, what they were saying is that only about 50% of the Latinos in Texas are voting right now. And the demographic shift in Texas means that in 4 years or 8 years, if, with the right kind of organizing, it looks like Texas could definitely become a battleground state, like Ohio or Florida. And that would be an awesome change, especially, Texas has a large amount of electoral votes, and it's been a reliable red state for pretty much all the elections since the South went Republican, the Nixon strategy and all that stuff. So I would love to see Texas, have some organizers develop Texas for the Latino vote and more Democratic registration and get those people out voting. And because, I mean, Rick Perry, George W. Bush, Texas has given us some of the worst politicians in terms of intellectual capacity and where they want to take the country of any of the states. So I would love to see Texas do a better job, or Texas voters be more representative of where we want the country to go. Let's see. I seem to be missing the update here. Let me see. Flag. Got. Hello. Thank you for all the great and informative videos you have released. Well, you're welcome. That nice. Christy Hansen asks if the banks are too big. Wait, where'd it go? Oh, if the banks are too big to fail but the top management is corrupt, is it possible to jail the top guys and turn the company over to the employees? They run the companies anyway. Well, it can be difficult. I actually, when I was in law school, I took a course on corporate and white collar crime. I was a criminal defense attorney, and proving a criminal charge against management in those kinds of situations, I mean, it can be tough. A lot of those laws have been written so that the real scandal is what's legal and what they can get away with without having to be prosecuted. I mean, it's an interesting idea to have the banks run by the companies anyway, or by the employees anyway. But what I really like to see is for people to take their money out of the big banks and put them in your local banks and your credit unions. I have almost all my money in one of our local credit unions. I mean, I don't know why anyone uses those big banks. I used to have to wait in line forever, and they would charge all these nasty fees. And I mean, that's the real way to take the power away from the big banks, is for everyone to take their money out of the big banks. So anyway, I don't know if that really answers the question, but 4 new comments. Let's see. Will there ever be a day when we cut our bloated defense budget? Asked Dager M001. Well, we have sequester coming up, although people who really pay attention know what we're cutting in defense is we're cutting the planned increase in the defense budget. We're not actually cutting the defense budget. But yeah, I mean, I think if we come to a real budget crisis, and we are going in that direction, it just doesn't make sense from a lot of different from the point of view of a lot of different constituencies to spend that much on defense. What is it? We spend more than like the next 20 countries in the world combined. It's ridiculous. And if our politics weren't so controlled by, these corporate interests that, like the oil companies and the people who want the pipeline through Afghanistan or whatever. If you keep track of how big corporate interests follow where we put our military power, it's kind of sad. So, that if you really want to take away the big defense budget, the two interests you have to worry about are the defense contractors who make money from, us buying all that hardware, and then of course the other corporations that benefit from our use of military force in places where they want to get raw materials or, hegemony for economic reasons. And so really it all comes down to empowering voters over corporations and, other moneyed special interests. There are a lot of people who talk about special interests, but I think there's some good special interests. The bad special interests are what I call the money special interests, because they get their power from their money instead of from the voices of the people. And I like special interests that are representing people, but special interests that are representing money, they're the ones we have to take some of the power away from. And there are ways to do that. But anyway, it looks like I only have a couple minutes left. Maybe take like one or two more questions. Let's see. Mr. Classels asks, why so many videos on Fox News? I started making videos uploading news clips, and after the first few, when, it was back in 2006 when people were uploading copyrighted material left and right, and no one was getting in trouble for it. But I started learning about fair use, and I realized that if I wanted to upload these clips that I wanted to save, that I needed to add commentary so that it would be fair use and not copyright infringement. And fair use means that you have to criticize what you're uploading. And, the easiest stuff to criticize, of course, Fox News, because Fox News makes the most mistakes. Fox News has the most bias. It's like, what was it? Willie Sutton said, why do you rob banks? Because that's where the money is. Well, I make media criticism videos about media bias, and Fox News, that's where the bias is. It's not like there's not bias on other stations, and I have made a couple videos on MSNBC and some of my local news and some of the other stations, but that's like nothing compared to what's on Fox News. If you want to make a bias video, if you want to make a lot of bias videos, the place to look for media bias is Fox News. Anyone who has any objective grasp on reality can see that just by I recently got a 4-tuner TiVo, and so I basically record all of Fox News, all of CNN, all of MSNBC, and I switch between them when I have time to look for video ideas. And the amount of total crap that's worth criticizing on Fox News is, I could make, if I had the time, I can make multiple videos a day based on what I see on Fox News. Well, I could make videos on the other channels, but it would just take a lot more time and it would be more subtle. So I think that answers the question. I guess I started a little late, so it's 5 o'clock now. I'll go like another couple minutes. Tears of War 1 asks, what's your opinion on people wanting their state to secede from the Union? Well, I think we pretty much resolved that issue back in the 1860s, that that's not really something that's going to happen. And it's kind of like that first question I answered. See, we're coming full circle here, where, why is Obama hated? Is it because people are racist? Is that why people want to secede from the Union, because we got a black president? Actually, I don't think that's really true. I think that our politics has become a lot more divisive, and if you look at the last several presidential elections, going back to 2000, which was like decided by a couple hundred votes, we're very closely divided in, at least politically. When you go around in the real world talking to people, people are much more reasonable, not on the internet, but out in the real world. Uh, but our politics is very divided, and our congressional districts, the way they're set up, people generally don't have to worry about getting a challenge from someone from the other party because they're all safe districts. They really have to worry about getting a challenge from someone more extreme than they are. You know, Republicans on the right and Democrats on the left. And so that also makes our politics more extreme. And I think that when our politicians get more and more extreme, some people, and of course our media gets more and more extreme, Fox News and to a lesser extent MSNBC, uh, that people who are watching their politicians and their media, that they get more extreme. And of course the internet lets those people come together into these secession petitions. So I guess that answers the question as to why people more, it seems that this has come up as an issue where people want their state to secede from the union. Oh, I got like 22 new comments and a lot of viewers here, so I will go a little bit longer. Let's see. Will Donald Trump win his lawsuit against Bill Maher? Asked Buttface112211. For those people who don't know what this is about, Bill Maher, who has a comedy show on HBO, because Donald Trump made this offer a week or so before the election that he would give $5 million to the charity of President Obama's choice if he would release his his college transcripts. This is after Donald Trump did the whole, bogus birther, Obama born in Kenya, not real birth certificate in Hawaii thing. So to parody that, Bill Maher on his show offered, was it $1 million or $5 million? I can't remember. As a joke, saying that because Donald Trump's hair only exists in nature in one other place, which is orangutans, that he would offer Donald Trump $1 million or $5 million if he would give proof that neither of his parents was an orangutan. And I guess the standard in a lawsuit would be, could anyone reasonably, or not anyone, would a reasonable person think that that was a joke or that that was a real offer to Donald Trump? And, well, my viewers, you're all reasonable people, right? What do you think? Was it a joke? You can go back and watch the clip. I think, well, I don't know if it's online, but if there, I'll put a link into the video if I can find it somewhere online. When this processes and goes up on YouTube. But my legal opinion, Donald Trump, it's stupid, and it's just more of Donald Trump's quest for publicity. Okay, well, it's 5:05, and it looks like I've done this for about 30 minutes, and I'm glad for all of you who participated. I'm going to try to do this as a regular thing, and I think I've got some of the technical issues worked out. I hope you all enjoyed this, and let me see if I can figure out how to turn this off. Thank you for joining me.